Hello and welcome to another episode of Nourish You with me, Salima Viliu, wearing the quiet colour of confidence through a Zen lens. This is your invitation to nourishment this week. In this week's podcast, we'll explore how you wear confidence. We'll explore the essence of confidence via the lens of Zen, brain and movement. We'll even take a little bit of a look into the Zen color psychology of confidence. I'll give you some journaling prompts to help you meet challenge and cultivate confidence more honestly, along with a Zen Agatha poetic verse to work with, and a wonderfully simple Zen practice, returning to center, which is a confidence cultivation sit. So, let's get started, and let's start this week's podcast with the main inquiry. How do you wear confidence? Think about that for a moment, and maybe think about what confidence means to you. Personally, I've been thinking and asking myself this question a lot lately, as I think our perception of confidence naturally changes with age due to experience. Over the past few weeks, I've come to realise that confidence isn't quite what I thought it was. It's not about trying to be the best or shout from the rooftops, have the perfect post, body, and face. But instead, for me, it's about welcoming in a type of soft anchoring, coming from a quiet rooted place of knowing that's actually less about being better and more about feeling connected. Connected to my breath, my strength, my purpose. A reflection from the Japanese concept of gambaru, which loosely means to do one's best with quiet determination, no drama, no ego, just presence in effort. Confidence is not something that we're born with, obviously. It's something that we build, rebuild, shape, reshape, embody, re embody through our various life experiences. And also, obviously, from what we see and hear around us. Something I've personally experienced over the past 5 years with changes in health, loss, and uncertainty is a little bit of a dent in my confidence. But as we start to dive deeper into the element of confidence from both a scientific and Zen perspective, we can begin to realize that challenge isn't something to avoid, but instead it's the very terrain where confidence is forged. Losing confidence during the second half of the pandemic, and not all at once, but just slowly. It slipped away through the cracks of long quiet spells and also the weight of uncertainty. Teaching, creating, even trusting my body and my mind, it all felt far away until recently, when I took the conscious choice to step back in once again, to retrain, to move differently, to think differently, to begin again with fresh eyes and an open heart. Yoga, Pilates, Zen, and the deep anatomy work I've studied and continue to study have become my home base, my anchor. Challenging myself mentally and physically through retraining in a new discipline has reignited something I hadn't felt in a while. That spark, that sense of direction and purpose, and it feels great, even though I'm not quite sure where it's going to take me. But what I do know is the version of me who loved teaching, networking, socializing, creating, and running her own thing is re-emerging. Not quite in the same form, but instead with more depth, more softness, more grace, and more strength. Pilates, structure, Zen, and movement is all helping me remember who I am. And sometimes rebuilding confidence looks like learning something new and realizing you're not starting over, but actually returning home. So, what does confidence look like in our brains? Well, you probably know that our brains are wired to adapt, referred to affectionately as neuroplasticity. And over the last 30 years or so, there's been a lot of research into that, as well as mindfulness in the brain. And basically, neuroplasticity, when I was studying it at university, is just basically the brain's ability to rewire itself based on our experiences. When we face a challenge, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, our nervous system is activated. If we meet that challenge with a conscious effort, focused attention, and rest afterwards, the brain then begins to encode that experience as resilience. And notice that rest is the key word here. You might want to add recovery to the mix as well. So, confidence then isn't just a feeling, but actually it's a real chemical process. It's biology in motion, a dance between belief and the body, shaped not only by past experiences, but by what we choose to do with the present moment. I'll say that again. Confidence isn't just a feeling, but a chemical process. It's biology in motion, a dance between belief and the body, shaped not only by past experiences, but by what we choose to do with the present moment. At the heart of it all is your brain's reward system. So, in the brain, we've got a circuitry referred to as the reward. The reward word, can't even say the word now. Reward circuitry, and that is primarily involving the dopaminergic system, which plays a central role in motivation, learning, and confidence. When you face a challenge and follow through, especially something that's just outside your comfort zone, your brain releases dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter that makes you feel good, that reinforces that behavior. So each time then you complete something difficult, the brain registers it as a win. Even small victories, like mastering a new Pilates move for me, holding a posture longer, or showing up for a practice when you didn't want to light up the mesolimbic pathway, telling your brain, that felt good, let's do that again. So even when you, in other words, even when you didn't want to show up, but you went and you did whatever it was, you'll get the reward. Your brain will get the reward. Over time, then, these little micro rewards, and that's why it's important to celebrate the small wins, begin to reshape our internal narrative. Not just, I can do hard things, but instead, I want to keep going and see where this goes. A process that I'm currently in at the moment. Interestingly, this echoes what the brain craves. Consistent, meaningful effort equals reward equals reinforcement. The result then is a sense of confidence that's actually less about being better and more about feeling connected. So then, what is embodied confidence? Of course, physical movement, especially structured, mindful movement like Pilates or yoga, when done mindfully and done with focus and concentration, is particularly effective at activating this system. But why? Because it pairs mental challenge, focus, like I said, concentration, coordination, breath control, with physical effort, strength, endurance, and precision. When we look at precision, it's one of the fundamentals of Joseph Pilates, just using that as a random example. This integrated experience then creates a potent feedback loop between mind, muscle, and mood. When you rise to meet a challenge physically, whether you're at the gym or in a class, the brain responds as if you've done something meaningful because, after all, you have. You've showed up and you've participated. So this not only boosts dopamine, but also builds trust between you and your body, between you and your capacity, which then will affect the internal dialogue that you have with yourself, which obviously will be more positive than negative. This is, as I say, especially relevant in any movement we undertake. Challenging the body with mindful stress, like strength work, Pilates, or even complex motor patterns, helps reorganize not just muscle, but also our sense of agency. With each small success, the body sends a feedback loop to the brain. You did that. And then from there, confidence begins to rebuild from the ground up. So then, if we look at confidence from a Zen perspective, what does that look like? I've spoken a little bit about that in a previous post, but this time I want to look also at the color in Zen that represents confidence. So, in the Zen tradition, color is approached with intentional simplicity. Each hue chosen not for decoration, but instead for its energetic essence and meditative effect. Historically, Zen temples favoured natural tones like earthy browns, soft greys, indigo blues. And if you're reading this, you can see the artwork that I have put on the post, which is basically indigo blues and muted whites, which reflects the impermanence and humility central to Zen. These colours then calm the nervous system, support stillness, and mirror the subtlety of the natural world. In colour psychology, these tones actually encourage introspection, stability, and grounded awareness, qualities that are deeply aligned with the Zen ideal of wabi-sabi, the quiet beauty found in imperfection and transience. Shades of blue then generally supports trust. Darker blues promote confidence. So in Zen, we are taught to meet the moment as it is without attachment to outcomes. And this doesn't mean we don't try, but rather that we engage fully and release the need for control. Dojin Zenjai wrote, "To study the self is to forget the self." When we approach challenge then from a Zen lens, it becomes less about winning and more about witnessing. For example, what am I learning here? How can I move with what's arising instead of fighting it or controlling it? This presence orientated approach softens the ego's grip and allows us instead to move through difficult terrain with more grace. Confidence then isn't about feeling bulletproof, but it's about staying connected moment by moment, no matter what's unfolding. And I know it's very easy for me to say, but the reality is it's extremely hard practice to do. From a Zen perspective, confidence, and this is probably the main takeaway, does not come from external validation. And this is something that we're wired to believe from living in our world currently with social media and everything that's going on. But instead, it's a quiet rooted knowing. Like I say, in Japanese, the concept of gambaru loosely means to do one's best with quiet determination. No drama, no ego, just presence in effort. When science meets stillness and movement meets mindfulness, confidence becomes a practice rather than a fixed state. It's rebuilt through the body, through breath, through effort, through pause, showing up again and again, even when you're unsure. For example, it's the legs shaking during a Pilates hold, the quiet mind after a meditation sit, the decision to begin again, even when you know it's hard. Confidence, contrary to belief, doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's just a whisper. Keep going. You're doing it. You're doing great. Now I want to give you a journaling prompt to meet challenge honestly. I want you to find a quiet space, take a comfortable seat, take a few deep breaths, and have your notebook or journal and pen handy. And what I want you to do is write these 3 prompts and then let the words flow. No need to fix, just observe instead what you've written. First journaling prompt: where in my life am I meeting resistance or self doubt right now? 2. What would it look like to meet this challenge with curiosity rather than fear? 3. Can I recall a time I did something hard and came through stronger? And what did I learn as a result? You might have words that come to mind, you might have a sentence, you might be drawing something right now, but just let the words flow. No need to fix, just observe what comes straight from your heart. Then you can keep your notebook, and I'm going to give you a returning to center, a confidence cultivation sit. And this is normally done for between 10 and 15 minutes. And it is best done seated in stillness. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to settle the body. So I want you to sit comfortably on a cushion or a chair. The main thing is that you sit very upright, but allow your shoulders to relax down your back. Let your hands rest softly in your lap or in your thighs. If you have a favorite mudra or placement for the hands, you can do that. If you don't, just keep it really super simple. And then gently close your eyes or lower your gaze. Now, I want you to take 5 slow breaths in and out of the abdomen, just taking a moment to ground yourself and feel yourself arrive in the present moment, fully and completely. Then, step 2, you're anchoring the mind with the breath and this mantra that I'm going to give you. On the next inhale, silently repeat, I am here. And as you exhale, silently repeat, I am ready. Set the timer on your Android or iPhone for 3 to 5 minutes, really letting the rhythm of breath and mantra begin to start stabilizing and reinforcing this mantra, embedding it into your subconscious. Start to feel the inhale gather greater presence and the exhale to soften resistance. Step 3 in this process, gather for confidence. Now, I want you to introduce this short Zen gatha, which is a poetic verse to work with in your sit. With each breath, I return to my ground, my true ground. Nothing to prove, only to be. I'll say it again. With each breath, I return to my true ground. Nothing to prove, only to be. Start to repeat this softly within, letting the words settle into your body again. You might sync them with your breath, or maybe you just let them drift in and out like waves on the ocean. Step 4, the inquiry into stillness. And this is optional to add on to this practice for the last, 2 to 3 minutes. As you sit in silence after doing the steps I've given you, ask yourself gently, where in my life do I feel disconnected from my confidence? Where in my life do I feel disconnected from my confidence? What part of me already knows how to begin again? What part of me already knows how to begin again? Don't force the answers, just let the questions quietly echo. Remember that confidence in Zen isn't bravado, it's the quiet clarity of knowing you're already enough. And if you're reading this, I'm going to actually highlight that right now because I think we all need to hear that sometimes. Then, the final stage of this practice, step 5, is to close with the mudra. Bring one hand to the heart, the left hand to the heart, the right hand to the belly. Bow your chin slightly towards yourself and whisper to yourself, I trust in the return. I trust in the return. I trust in the return. The takeaway from all of this then is that confidence isn't a fixed trait, but instead it's a process that your brain and body want you to lean into. Each time we allow ourselves to be challenged and follow through, we're not just pushing limits, we're actually rewiring our sense of self. So whether it's through mindful movement, deep rest and recovery, or showing up for that small promise you made to yourself today, know this, that your reward system is watching and it loves a comeback. Confidence is not a pose we strike, but instead it's a process of remembrance. Through breath, movement, and self inquiry, we rebuild it piece by piece with presence and compassion. Thank you for listening, reading, sharing, and commenting. My Substack is reader supported, so to receive new posts and support my work, please consider becoming a free subscriber. If you go to, there are a couple of paid options on there. That's on, you can access that information, but mainly my work is free. And yeah, let me know how this practice settles with you. It's a great practice to do, and it just gets us to think about confidence in a different way. And I really believe that approaching confidence this way in our world where perfection and comparison is prevalent, then this is a quiet alternative to that and actually more honest and authentic. So, thank you again, and please feel free to share with others. Until next time, take care of you and nourish you.